ISO TC212, and the ISO standards development process. This short video is designed to provide an overview and explanation of the relationships between ISO, ANSI, and CLSI. Specifically, we will discuss an overview of the International Organization for Standardization, or ISO, details about ISO TC212 and the standards related to clinical laboratory testing and in vitro diagnostic test systems, the relationship between ISO, ANSI, and CLSI, including CLSI's role in managing the ISO Technical Advisory Group, or TAG, different types of ISO documents and the document development process, and participation in ISO and the U.S. Technical Advisory Committee. ISO is an independent, non-governmental international organization with a membership of national standards bodies from 169 countries and 820 technical committees that work together on standards development. There is only one member organization per country, and these member organizations are responsible for representing their national constituencies and their country's adoption and promotion of ISO's international standards. Today, ISO's headquarters are in Geneva, Switzerland, but the organization's history dates back to 1946, when 65 delegates from 25 countries came together in London to discuss the future of international standardization. A year later, ISO officially came into existence. The first standard, ISO R1, Standard Reference Temperature for Industrial Length Measurements, was published in 1951. The General Assembly is the ultimate authority of the organization. It is an annual meeting attended by the ISO members and principal officers. The ISO Council is the core governance body and reports to the General Assembly. The Council meets 3 times a year and is made up of 20 members, the ISO officers, and the chairs of the policy development committees, which are CASCO, COPOLCO, and DEVCO. CASCO provides guidance on conformity assessment. COPOLCO provides guidance on consumer issues. DEVCO provides guidance on matters related to developing countries. The management of the technical work is taken care of by the Technical Management Board, or TMB, which reports to the Council. This body is responsible for the technical committees that lead standards development and any strategic advisory boards created on technical matters. ISO's national members pay subscriptions to cover the operational costs of the Central Secretariat. The subscription paid by each member is in proportion to the country's gross national income and trade figures. Another source of revenue is the sale of standards. However, the operations of ISO's Central Secretariat represent only about 1/5 of the total operational costs. Other costs are related to specific standards development projects and technical work. These costs are borne by member bodies and business organizations that allow their experts to participate and pay their travel expenses on a voluntary basis. ISO has several partners. Among them are the International Electrotechnical Commission, or IEC, and the International Telecommunication Union, or ITU. In 2001, ISO, IEC, and ITU formed the World Standards Corporation to strengthen the standards systems of the 3 organizations. ISO has a close relationship with the World Trade Organization, working together to reduce technical barriers to trade. ISO also has partnerships with various UN specialized agencies, including the UN Economic and Social Council, ECOSOC. In total, ISO collaborates with over 700 international, regional, and national organizations. These partner organizations take part in the standards development process and share expertise and best practices. The technical and project committees in ISO cover specific topic areas like quantities and units, steel, aircraft and space vehicles, photography, acoustics, and many more. Technical Committee 212 is focused on clinical laboratory testing and in vitro diagnostic test systems. A technical committee can have different structures. It can have subcommittees for different topics in its work program. These subcommittees operate much like technical committees in that subcommittee documents can be submitted to ISO without TC input or oversight. Subcommittees typically have temporary working groups under them to develop a specific document. These working groups are disbanded once the work is complete and/or until a revision is needed. Project committees are formed to develop a single document that does not fit under an existing technical committee. The project committee might later be disbanded or converted to a standing technical committee if more documents are to be created. For example, TC283 on occupational health and safety management started as a project committee a few years ago. It is now identified as a technical committee. Participating members, P members, are expected to vote on every document, provide experts for working groups, and attend meetings. There are participation criteria within ISO, and if the member does not meet those requirements, the P member can be downgraded to an O member for 1 year, after which they can reapply for P member status. While downgraded to O member status, all appointed working group experts are automatically removed from the assigned groups. China was downgraded a few years ago. O members are observing members. They are not permitted to vote and can only provide comments. O members cannot provide experts to working groups. They can attend technical committee plenary meetings, but only to observe. ISO TC212 is not structured like a typical TC. It does not have any subcommittees. Instead, TC212 has several permanent working groups that use project teams to develop specific documents. These include ISO TC212 Working Group 1, Quality and Competence in the Medical Laboratory; ISO TC212 Working Group 2, Reference Systems; Working Group 3, In Vitro Diagnostic Products; Working Group 4, Microbiology and Molecular Diagnostics; Working Group 5, Laboratory Biorisk Management; a Spanish Translation Task Force, and a joint working group with ISO TC276, Quality Practice for Detection of SARS-CoV-2. Project teams are formed to develop a single document and are disbanded after they complete the document. Why? Mostly financial reasons. National Member Body, or NMB dues, are charged per technical committee and subcommittee. For example, let's say the dues for a technical committee are $25,000 per year. The dues for each SC are $5,000 per year. So if a technical committee has 8 subcommittees and a NMB wants to participate in the TC and every SC as a participating member, that NMB would pay $65,000 per year. That is for just one TC. Note, being a participating member and paying the ISO dues does not get the NMB on every TC. The NMB must notify ISO which TC on which it wants to participate. The NMB then pays dues for each TC where it sits. For the most part, the TC212 working group acts as a subcommittee. About 10 years ago, TC212 considered changing its structure to convert working groups to subcommittees so as to avoid confusion when applying the work directives of the TC. But there was a concern that if TC212 changed its structure, some members would not be able to afford to continue to participate on the TC. ISO has 169 national standards bodies as members. Each country that participates in ISO has a designated national member body, or NMB. For example, UK has BSI, Germany has DIN, France has OFNOR. ANSI, American National Standards Institute, is the national standards body representing the U.S. ANSI is responsible for every U.S. vote and comment on any ISO document, including but not only TC212. In the ISO system, there is one vote per country. It doesn't matter how big the country is. A vote from China carries the same weight as a vote from Trinidad and Tobago. A U.S. vote carries the same weight as a vote from Luxembourg. CLSI manages TC212 on behalf of ANSI. Only NMBs are recognized to manage technical committees, and CLSI is not an NMB. When TC212 formed in 1994, ANSI offered the U.S. to serve as the secretariat. If you look at the TC212 page on the ISO website, you will see that ANSI is identified as the secretariat of TC212, not CLSI. CLSI manages the committee. How well CLSI manages the TC reflects on ANSI as the member of ISO, and we do our best to protect the reputation of ANSI. There are several types of ISO documents. An ISO standard contains requirements to be met. A technical specification may contain normative provisions. A committee may decide to prepare and publish a technical specification when the subject in question is still under development, or the committee has developed a document it wishes to publish, but the DIS or FDIS is not approved. A committee may decide to publish a technical report when it wishes to share information not normally published as an international standard. For example, information obtained from a survey among the national bodies, information on work in other international organizations, or information on the state of the art in relation to standards of national bodies on a particular subject. It may also publish a TR to provide a rationale for specific requirements in a related international standard. The document shall be entirely informative in nature, containing no requirements, recommendations, or permissions, and/or any matter implying that it is normative. The report shall clearly explain its relationship to normative aspects of the subject, which are or will be dealt with within international standards related to the subject. A committee may decide to prepare and publish a publicly available specification when there is an urgent market need and there is a need for a preliminary document prior to the development of a full international standard. The committee wishes to adopt a published document from an external organization, or the committee has developed a document that has not yet been approved at DIS or FDIS. A publicly available specification may contain normative provisions. These specifications are not allowed to conflict with existing international standards. However, competing publicly available specifications on the same subject are permitted. TC212 has not published either a technical report or publicly available specification in the recent past. Each national member body has either a mirror committee or technical advisory group, TAG, for each technical committee it participates on in ISO. Each country determines the composition of its mirror committee or TAG. This committee or group is responsible for forming the country's position on the document, voting, and commenting. The position is then communicated to the member body, who submits the position to ISO. For the U.S., if the TAG cannot reach agreement on the U.S. position, a vote of abstain must be submitted. CLSI also serves as the administrator of the U.S. TAG to TC212. Ms. Jennifer Adams, VP Standards and Quality at CLSI, currently serves as the TAG administrator. The TC212 committee manager posts documents for voting and commenting. The documents then go to all the NMBs. This includes ANSI, which is responsible for providing the U.S. vote and comments. TAG members pay dues to CLSI to cover the administrative fee. CLSI pays ANSI to manage the TC and TAG. ISO documents are maintained through systematic reviews. For standards, these reviews occur every 5 years, with no limit on the number of reviews. So standards basically have an unlimited lifespan. Technical specifications are reviewed 3 years after publication, with a limit of 1 systematic review and maximum 6-year lifespan, at which point it must either be converted to a standard or withdrawn. It can also be revised and reissued as a new technical specification. For technical reports, reviews are not specified or limited. Publicly available standards also must be reviewed 3 years after publication. Like technical specifications, these PAS documents have a limit of 1 year systematic review and a maximum 6-year lifespan. If not converted to a standard, the document is proposed for withdrawal at that time. Like technical specifications, these PAS documents have a limit of 1 systematic review and a maximum 6-year lifespan. Now that we have reviewed the types of ISO documents, let's look at how the documents get developed. This table shows the various stages in the ISO process. A preliminary work item is recommended by a working group to the technical committee. A resolution ballot registers the project. With the approval of the preliminary work item, a small team is formed to create a draft document. This drafting team has 2 years to complete the draft for the Form 04 submission. The circulation of the Form 04 also serves to recruit additional experts to serve on the project team. If Form 04 is not submitted within 2 years of PWI approval, the project is canceled. With the approval of Form 04, now a new work item proposal, or NWIP, the project team has 2 years to finalize the document's contents and register the draft international standard, or DIS. The project team works from the original draft and comments received during the NWIP ballot. The working draft can be circulated within the working group to reach consensus by using a working group consultation ballot. The project team has 2 years to reach the DIS registration limit date. The document can go through several committee draft consultation ballots within the TC to reach consensus on the technical contents. Each committee draft consultation is an 8-week period. It can be reduced to 4 or 6 weeks by a technical committee resolution approval. If the document does not reach the DIS registration limit date, ISO will automatically cancel the project. Once the project team and responsible working group agree that consensus has been reached and all technical issues have been resolved, the document is submitted to ISO for DIS preparation, first-time editing. The DIS preparations at ISO can take 8 weeks, and the voting period is 12 weeks, for a total of 5 months. If the DIS document is approved with no negative votes and no technical comments, the document can go directly to publication. If negative votes are received or technical comments result in technical changes to the document, the technical committee can repeat the DIS vote one time or move to the final draft international standard FDIS vote, which is an 8-week vote. After approval at FDIS vote, the document is prepared for publication. To pass the DIS or FDIS voting stage, the document must achieve an approval rate greater than 66% of votes received and less than 25% negative votes of the participating members on the TC. Abstain votes do not apply to the totals. Subject matter experts, or SMEs, are nominated by the national member bodies to participate on working groups and project teams. ISO is very restrictive with access to documents in the ISO process. If you are not listed on a working group roster, you will not receive any communications or documents from that WG. Each country has their own process for identifying subject matter experts. In the U.S., membership on the TC212 Technical Advisory Group is required to participate in ISO TC212. This membership can be either organizational or individual. In other words, an individual whose organization is not a member of the TAG can still join the TAG as an individual. When participating in ISO meetings, there are different types of representation. For plenary meetings, the U.S. delegation is representing the previously agreed-upon viewpoint of the U.S. for whatever topics are on the agenda. At working group meetings, participants have a mix of roles, representing the U.S. and being a subject matter expert. If a U.S. position has been determined for an agenda topic, SME participants would represent that U.S. position. If specific documents are being discussed, project team participants serve as subject matter experts. On project teams, all members participate as subject matter experts. Individuals listed on the TC212 roster in the ISO Global Directory are normally limited to individuals who work at the National Member Body Office or have leadership or management roles on the Technical Advisory Group or Mirror Committee. CLSI has 3 constituencies: industry, government, and professions. There are 6 ISO stakeholder categories. They are consumers, government, industry, labor, NGOs, SSROs, which includes a range of service, support, research, and other constituents. Lastly, here is an overview of the different roles in ISO. The technical committee chairperson is identified and recommended by the committee manager. The chairholder is approved by the ISO Technical Management Board and serves a 6-year term with an option for 3 additional years. The committee manager is identified by the national member body holding the secretariat and is responsible for the activities of the technical committee and the circulation of documents for voting and comment. Working group conveners are approved by resolution ballot and serve for 3 years, with an option to renew as many times as approved. Working group secretaries are identified by the member body holding the secretariat and are responsible for helping organize meetings and circulating documents within the working group for review and comment. Working group members are appointed by the national member body and approved by the Mirror Committee or TAG. These members can remain on the working group until they decide to step down. Project team members are identified and approved by the Mirror Committee or TAG and appointed by the national member body. These members only participate until the document is published. To recap, ANSI is the U.S. voice for all ISO activities, not just for TC212. CLSI serves as the secretariat for TC212 on behalf of ANSI. CLSI also serves as the administrator of the U.S. tag for ANSI. To participate in ISO activities, you must be on the U.S. tag roster as a member or observer, and you must be registered on a working group roster. The only way for your organization to have a voice in ISO TC212 is through the U.S. tag. The TC212 homepage contains information specific to TC212, for example, the number of published standards, number of documents in development, a list of participating and observing members, the committee structure, committee liaisons, access to the documents circulated in TC212. The My ISO job brochure offers delegates and experts a quick reference to the ISO system and its processes. ISO directives include guidance regarding the ISO process and in Part 2 for drafting ISO documents. Thank you. We hope this video has been of service in explaining the many roles, responsibilities, and organizations involved in ISO standards development. Should you have any additional questions or wish more information, please contact David Sterry, CLSI Director Standards Development and ISO TC212 Committee Manager.